Hey, what's up everybody? Barn on 11970, and thank you as always for watching my video. I'm going to make another quick little video, and what you take from this, I'm just a messenger. I'm not here to tell people what to do, tell people what to think, tell people how to feel, how to react. That is not my job. My job is to speak about things that a lot of people seem to be afraid of to speak to, or they just don't want to be a part of it, because most people think if I just stay away from a problem, it won't affect me. And that's pretty much the reason why the governments throughout the world have been sticking it to us for hundreds of years. Because the average person out there is too afraid to stand up for themselves. They hide behind computers. They act like cowards. They watch as somebody robs an elderly lady and does nothing about it. There are very few people out there with integrity and character, which I think is a sad thing. So some of my videos that I make, some people may like them, some people may hate them, some people may not agree with them, some people just have nothing better to do than to make fun of them. It doesn't really bother me the way it once did, because I've definitely become a better person. But those who do nothing but make fun of people and do nothing productive, it's people like that that are the reasons, or at least part of the reasons, why our governments get away with whatever they get away with. Because most people are just too afraid to do anything. So some of the things, like for example, that I talk about, they may not be popular or mainstream or something that everybody talks about, but I'm not afraid to speak up for what I feel is right and what I think should be out there. So the thumbs down and things like that, that's wonderful. That's what cowards do. They hide behind a computer and press a button because it's convenient, and that's their thing. And people who say things about what I talk about, basically, at this point, to me, it's just somebody's opinion. And when somebody gives an opinion, it shouldn't affect you. I mean, I had to learn that the hard way back a year or so ago when I used to take everything to heart. But make no mistakes about this healthcare plan. If you think this is about helping the people and giving free healthcare to people and making their lives better, you're sadly mistaken. And that 1-800 number, all you have to do is see it for yourself. And like I said, I used to work for a company that used to sell toll-free numbers, and people can pick their own numbers. So is it a coincidence? It sure could be, but I find it really suspect that it would spell that out. Now, does that mean anything? Who knows? But is it a two-finger salute to the people saying, if you get this stuff, we're basically saying, fungal? That's for you to decide. I'm not here to make any judgments. I'm here to point out something that most people would be too afraid to talk about. And I'll tell you right now, every single person that thumbed it down so far, I guarantee you, they do not make videos that try and better this world and speak about things that they may be ridiculed for. Why? Because that's what cowards are afraid to do, and that's speak out. That's why you see my face. I don't hide, because when we hide, we tell a bully it's okay to pick on us. I'm not one of those people. I mean, does that mean I could beat up the world? Of course not. I'm not naive. I'm not ignorant. I'm definitely not stupid. But I know that if you allow a bully, and any bully, and that could be the government, it could be some child that's bugging you, if you do nothing, you're giving them the authority to know that it's okay to pick on you because you'll never fight for yourself. You'll never stand up for yourself. And so many people are so afraid to speak out. Could the 1-800 thing be utterly ridiculous and utterly a coincidence? It absolutely can. I'm not going to sit here and say they absolutely did it, and they absolutely did it for that reason. But does that mean we shouldn't be having the ability to talk about it? I find most people these days nothing more than cowards, too afraid to show themselves, too afraid to stand up for themselves, too afraid to be outside what the tribe says. Those people, of course, they'll thumb down this video because that's what they do. And none of them will show their faces and show who they are. And even if they did that, none of them will sit there and actually try and help improve the world by doing anything productive. It's very easy to take a bribe to injure somebody. You got to have no heart, no feeling, no ability to care to do something that hurts other people. And sometimes just ignoring what's going on is just another way to be a hypocrite and to ignore the problems. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I solved all my problems or do everything to help mankind. It's just impossible. One man can't do everything. But one thing I'm not afraid to do is stand up for myself and speak. Because one day we may have that right taken away from us. There have been many people that have been killed by their own government in history, to the point where, like they say, if you don't check research history, you're doomed to repeat it. Well, if you check just in the 20th century alone, over 40 million people were killed by their own governments once they were disarmed. You could look at what happened in Russia in the early 1900s. You could look at World War II with Germany, which, by the way, if you know anything about Hitler, in 1938 he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. If you look at China in the 50s, killed over 20 million of its own people once they disarmed them. So one of the things about Obamacare that you may not know about is it's primarily a way to get around the Second Amendment and help disarm the people. And you could say, well, why would healthcare have to do with that? Well, if a healthcare provider deems that you are unfit and unhealthy, in other words, if you have depression or some kind of mental disorder or something they use like an OCD or some kind of situation that they report to the government, well, then under the provisions, you will no longer be able to have access to guns, which means you can't defend yourself. So if they say, if you went to a doctor and there's supposed to be that confidentiality, and you say, oh, I was depressed, or, one time I was on some kind of depression medication or something, well, they have to report that to the government. And then you could end up not being able to use guns anymore. Now, your right to own guns, that's everybody's individual decision. But until they abandon the Second Amendment, it's the right to bear arms. It's a right. And until that changes, they can word it any way they want, and they could say whatever they want. So some people say it's paranoia. Some people will use the old tinfoil hat thing, which, that's real original. The point is, this is people like myself and others. There are plenty of people out there that are not afraid to stand up and speak their mind and try and speak truth. Now, does that mean they're always right? Absolutely not. But I would rather try and bring something up and be wrong about it than to be one of the millions of people too afraid to ever say anything because they're afraid that somebody might not like them. I'm not here to become popular. I'm not here for everybody to cheer my name. I'm not here to make money and profit off of the people. As everybody knows, there are no ads on my channel, and there never will be. I do not make revenue for what I do. So in other words, I don't do this for an agenda. A lot of people out there that do. Why they do it, we'll never know. They have their own demons they have to deal with. All I know is I try my best to speak the truth. And there are so many people out there that are just too afraid to do it. Because they're afraid. And that's what strength really is. It's not about how much muscle you have. That's wonderful. But how much strength you have in here. How much can you stand up for the rightness, to do the right thing, not being afraid of what other people think? That takes real courage. That takes real strength. Somebody hiding behind a computer and does nothing all day but hit a thumbs down. Like you'll notice on my videos, every single one of my videos I've ever made will have at least one thumb down. And as soon as I make a video, there's always one, which means somebody's waiting just to thumb it down no matter what. To me, I used to actually get angry about that. Now, I just find that those people very sad because their lives are spent, whether they're getting paid for it or not, I don't care. But their job in life is to try and discredit truth. Without research, without a conversation, without enlightenment of their own opinions, just to try and stifle somebody not being afraid to speak. That to me shows the ultimate coward. And that's not one thing that I will ever be. I'm not going to sit here and say I'll stand in front of a military with guns pointed at me and sit there and not think I'm scared. Of course, I'm human. But I'm not afraid to speak my mind, and I wish more people would be able to speak their mind and be able to talk about things that some may think are ridiculous. Because there are people like, for example, Galileo and many others who were persecuted for their speaking of the truth that the majority of the world did not agree with, maybe even made fun of. And some people have paid the ultimate price. Now, I will never sit here and compare myself to anybody like John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all these people that stood up for what was right and paid the ultimate price. I'm nothing even remotely close to them. But I will follow what they believed in, and that's to stand up for what's right. So you may not like what I say. You may not like the things I talk about. But at least you could see I have the courage to not hide from it. What are you doing? Peace.